Let me ask you something real. Have you ever looked at someone who's wildly successful, really successful, and thought, what do they know that I don't? Not are they smarter than me. Not did they get lucky. Not were they born rich. What do they actually know? Because here's what keeps me up at night. There are people in this world who seem to have cracked a code. They start with nothing, no connections, no trust fund, no Ivy League degree, and somehow, they build empires. And then there's everyone else. Working hard. Showing up. Doing everything they're supposed to do. And getting nowhere. The gap isn't effort. The gap is understanding. So what's the difference? Over 100 years ago, a poor young reporter asked that exact question. His name was Napoleon Hill. And his answer, a book called Think and Grow Rich, has sold over 100 million copies. But here's the thing. The book has problems. Some of the stories are exaggerated. Some of the science is nonsense. And if you read it uncritically, you might walk away thinking that all you need is positive thoughts, which is not true at all. So why am I making a 2-hour video about it? Because buried inside this flawed, messy, sometimes overhyped book are 13 principles that, when you separate the gold from the gravel, can actually change how you think, act, and achieve. This is not a book summary. This is a practical breakdown. Over the next 2 hours, I'm going to walk you through each principle. I'll tell you what works, what doesn't, and what modern psychology has to say about it. And by the end, you'll have a system. Not magic. A system. Let's start at the beginning. Napoleon Hill was born in 1883 in a one-room cabin in the mountains of Virginia. His mother died when he was 9. His father was, not great. Young Napoleon was considered a troublemaker. At 13, he was basically feral. But then something happened. His father remarried. And his stepmother, Martha, looked at this angry, difficult boy and said, "This is not a bad boy. This is a brilliant boy who doesn't know what to do with his mind." That single belief changed everything. Hill became a reporter. And in 1908, he interviewed one of the richest men in the world, Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie, a poor Scottish immigrant who became a steel billionaire, gave Hill a challenge. "Go interview 500 successful people," Carnegie said. "Find the patterns. I'll introduce you to everyone I know. But I won't pay you a cent. And you'll need 20 years. Hill said yes. For 2 decades, he interviewed Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, John D. Rockefeller, Theodore Roosevelt, Alexander Graham Bell, and hundreds of others. In 1937, in the middle of the Great Depression, he published Think and Grow Rich. Now, before we go further, let me be honest about the book's problems. Problem 1, Hill exaggerated. He claimed to have been hired by Woodrow Wilson. No evidence exists. Some of his interview stories are likely embellished. Problem 2, survivorship bias. He only interviewed successful people. He never interviewed the millions who followed the same principles and failed. So we don't know if the principles work, or if successful people just said they followed them. Problem 3, dubious science. Hill talked about the brain as a broadcasting station that picks up thoughts from the universe. That's not real. So why use the book at all? Because when you strip away the mysticism, the exaggeration, and the bias, you find a core of psychological wisdom that has stood the test of time. We're going to take what works. Leave what doesn't. And apply it to your life. Let's begin with the first principle. Desire. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. What do you actually want? Not the thing you say at family dinners. Not, "I guess I'd like to be successful someday." I mean, what do you want so badly that you think about it when you wake up? That keeps you up at night. That makes your stomach clench when you imagine not getting it. Because here's the first principle: desire is the starting point of all achievement. Napoleon Hill was very careful to distinguish between wishing and desiring. Wishing, I hope I get rich someday. Desiring, I will become rich. Here's exactly what that means. Here's my deadline. Here's my plan. Most people wish. Successful people desire. And the difference shows up in their calendars. Hill gave a 6-step formula for turning desire into reality. It's simple, but not easy. Step 1, fix in your mind the exact amount of money you want. Not some money. Not more money. Exactly how much. Vague desires produce vague results. I want to be rich is a wish. I want to earn $250,000 per year within 5 years is a desire. Step 2, determine exactly what you will give in return. The world doesn't care what you want. The world cares what you provide. What problem will you solve? What value will you create? Step 3, establish a definite date. Deadlines create focus. Without a deadline, someday means never. Step 4, create a definite plan. Start immediately. Not when you feel ready. Not when you have more information. Start now. Step 5, write it down. Read it aloud twice daily. Step 6, believe that you will receive it. Let me give you an example that isn't Elon Musk. Meet Sarah. She's a freelance graphic designer. 2 years ago, she was working a retail job she hated, making $30,000 a year. She sat down and wrote her 6 steps. Amount, $75,000 per year. Give in return, high-quality branding for small businesses. Deadline, 18 months. Plan, build a portfolio in 3 months, reach out to 10 potential clients per week on an ongoing basis, take a course on sales in the first month. She put her goal on a sticky note above her monitor. And she visualized closing a $5,000 contract. 18 months later, Sarah had replaced her retail income. She wasn't a millionaire. She wasn't famous. But she had achieved her exact desire, $75,000 per year, working for herself. That's not luck. That's a system. What if you don't know your exact amount? Start with a range. $50,000 to $75,000. Then refine as you learn. The act of choosing is more important than being perfectly right. You can adjust later. You can't adjust a goal you never set. Modern research backs Hill up on this. Psychologists Edwin Locke and Gary Latham spent decades studying goal setting. Their conclusion? Specific, challenging goals lead to higher performance than vague or easy goals. Why? Because specific goals focus your attention, mobilize your effort, increase your persistence, and motivate you to develop new strategies. Hill didn't have the science. But he had the observation. And he was right. But here's the hard truth. Desire alone is not enough. I know a guy, let's call him Mike, who had a burning desire to start a coffee shop. He talked about it for years. He had the exact amount, $100,000. He had the deadline, 2 years. He wrote it down. He never opened a coffee shop. Why? Because he never took step 4, create a definite plan and start immediately. He spent 2 years researching coffee beans, espresso machines, lease agreements. He was an expert on coffee shops that didn't exist. Desire without a plan is just a dream. Plan without action is just a hobby. Desire plus plan plus action equals results. So here's my challenge. Write your 6 steps today. Not tomorrow. Today. And then take one action, however small, within 24 hours. But here's the problem. You will face setbacks. You will doubt yourself. The desire will fade on hard mornings. So how do you keep going? You need faith. Let me tell you about the worst year of a friend of mine. 2 years ago, a woman I know, let's call her Priya, quit her stable job to start her own marketing agency. She had 6 months of savings. She had a few small clients. She had a burning desire. Month 1, 1 new client. Month 2, 0. Month 3, 0. Month 4, her savings ran out. She called me, panicked. What do I do? Should I go back to a job? I asked her, do you still believe you can build this? She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I don't know if I can. But I choose to believe I can. That's the second principle. Faith is the head chemist of the mind. But let me be precise about what Hill meant, and what he didn't mean. Hill was not saying, just think positive and everything will work out. That's magical thinking. And it's dangerous. Real faith, the kind Hill actually described, is confidence under uncertainty. It's choosing to act as if you will succeed, even when the evidence isn't there yet. There's a difference. Toxic positivity ignores obstacles. Real faith acknowledges obstacles and moves forward anyway. Modern psychology calls this self-efficacy, your belief in your ability to succeed in a specific situation. Psychologist Albert Bandura found that self-efficacy affects whether you even try, how much effort you put in, how long you persist when things get hard, and how you recover from setbacks. And here's the key, self-efficacy is not fixed. You can build it. Bandura identified 4 sources. First, mastery experiences, actually succeeding at something. That's the most powerful. Second, vicarious experiences, watching someone like you succeed. Third, verbal persuasion, someone telling you, you can do this. Fourth, emotional states, managing anxiety and stress. Hill didn't have this research. But his faith principle maps almost exactly to self-efficacy. Let me give you an ordinary example. Carlos is 24. He decided to learn to code. No computer science degree. No connections in tech. Just a laptop and a YouTube account. The first 3 months were brutal. He'd stare at error messages for hours. He'd watch tutorials and still not understand. He almost quit 6 times. But Carlos had faith, not that it would be easy, but that he could learn. He broke it down. One small concept at a time. Variables. Functions. Loops arrays. Each tiny success built his self-efficacy. 6 months later, he built his first working app, a to-do list. Ugly. Buggy. Barely functional. But it worked. 18 months later, he got his first junior developer job. $70,000 per year. No degree. No connections. Just faith, and the work that faith made possible. If you're naturally skeptical, just have faith sounds ridiculous. So let me give you 4 practical methods that actually work. Method 1, the small win list. Every day, write down 3 small wins. Doesn't matter how small. Woke up on time. Sent that email. Finished 1 workout. Over time, your brain accumulates evidence, I am someone who wins. That's not toxic positivity. That's data. Method 2, visualize the process, not just the outcome. Most people visualize the victory, the check, the award, the house. That feels good, but it doesn't build resilience. Instead, visualize yourself struggling and overcoming. See yourself hitting an obstacle. See yourself feeling frustrated. Then see yourself finding a solution. Process visualization builds resilience. Outcome visualization builds fantasy. Method 3, find your Carlos. Bandura called this vicarious experience. Find someone like you who has done what you want to do. Watch their videos. Read their stories. If they can do it, so can you. Method 4, reframe failure. When you fail, don't say, I'm not good enough. Say, that strategy didn't work. What's another strategy? Failure is data, not identity. Let me be real with you. There will be days when faith fails. When you wake up and feel like a fraud. When the doubt is louder than the belief. That's normal. That's human. The goal is not to never doubt. The goal is to not let doubt stop you. Priya, the woman with the marketing agency. Month 5, after her savings ran out, she got 2 clients in 1 week. Month 6, 3 more. By month 12, she had replaced her old salary. She didn't succeed because she never doubted. She succeeded because she acted in spite of doubt. So we've got desire. We've got faith. But how do you actually install these beliefs? How do you make them automatic? That's the third principle. And it's not a repeat of faith. It's something different. It's about identity. Here's something that surprised me when I first learned it. Your brain does not have a truth detector. It does not fact-check your thoughts. It simply accepts whatever you tell it, especially if you tell it repeatedly and with emotion. This is both terrifying and incredibly useful. Terrifying because if you constantly tell yourself, I'm not disciplined, I always quit, I'm bad with money, your subconscious believes you. And then it creates behavior that proves you right. Useful because you can deliberately reprogram yourself. This is autosuggestion, self-suggestion. Talking to yourself on purpose to change who you believe you are. Let me clarify the difference between the 3 principles, because this is where most people get confused. Desire is about what you want, the goal. Faith is about confidence you can get it, the belief in the outcome. Autosuggestion is about who you are, the identity. You can have a strong desire to run a marathon. You can have faith that you can finish it. But if your identity is, I'm not a runner, you'll struggle. Autosuggestion changes the identity. Here's the practice Hill recommended. Write down a description of the person you want to become. Use present tense. Be specific. Not, I will be confident someday. But, I am confident. I speak clearly. I trust my decisions. I handle rejection without collapsing. Then, twice a day, morning and night, read that statement out loud. With emotion. With feeling. When you say, I am confident, don't just say the words. Feel what confidence feels like. Straight spine. Calm breathing. Clear voice. Modern habit researcher James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, talks about something called identity-based habits. Most people set goals like, I want to write a book. That's outcome-based. A better approach is, I want to become a writer. That's identity-based. When your identity aligns with your actions, the actions become automatic. You don't have to force yourself to write. You're a writer. Writers write. Autosuggestion is the tool for building that identity. Let me give you an ordinary example. 3 years ago, a creator named Mark started a YouTube channel. His first 10 videos were terrible. Bad audio. Bad lighting. Awkward delivery. He got maybe 50 views each. But Mark did something interesting. Every morning, he looked in the mirror and said, I am a creator. I make content that helps people. My audience is out there, and I will find them. He didn't believe it at first. It felt fake. He told me he felt ridiculous. But he kept doing it. 6 months later, he had 500 subscribers. Still tiny. But his identity had shifted. He no longer felt like a fraud. He was a creator, just a small one. 2 years later, 50,000 subscribers. He quit his job. Did the autosuggestion cause the success? No. The consistent work caused the success. But the autosuggestion kept him working when the results weren't there yet. Here's the part no one talks about. You are already using autosuggestion. Every single day. You just aren't controlling it. Every time you say, "I'm so disorganized," or "I always mess up interviews," or "people like me don't succeed," you are programming your identity. And your subconscious is taking notes. Every thought you repeat becomes a belief. Every belief becomes an action. Every action becomes a result. This is why your environment matters so much. The people you surround yourself with, the content you consume, the conversations you have, all of it is autosuggestion. If everyone around you says, "The system is rigged," your subconscious learns, success is unlikely. I'm not saying you should live in a bubble. I'm saying you should be intentional about what you feed your mind. Here's my challenge. Write down 3 sentences about the person you want to become. I am someone who works on my most important task before checking email. I am someone who saves 20% of my income. I am someone who handles rejection with curiosity, not collapse. Read them aloud, with emotion, every morning and every night for 30 days. Will this change your life overnight? No. Will it shift your identity over time? Yes. After 30 days, the negative thoughts won't disappear. But they won't be the default anymore. Because you'll have a new identity competing for space. But identity alone isn't enough. You need actual skills. Not just any skills. Skills that solve problems for other people. That's the 4th principle, specialized knowledge. Here's something that might surprise you. Napoleon Hill said, "Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power only when organized into definite plans of action." Think about the smartest person you know. The one with the highest IQ, the most degrees, the deepest understanding of physics or philosophy or literature. Are they also the richest? The most successful? The happiest? Probably not. Because there are millions of brilliant people who never apply what they know. They collect information like stamps. They read, they learn, they understand, and then they do nothing. Hill divided knowledge into 2 categories. General knowledge is what you learn in school. History. Literature. Basic math. It's useful. It makes you a well-rounded human. But it doesn't, by itself, make you wealthy. Specialized knowledge is deep expertise in a specific field that solves problems for other people. A surgeon has specialized knowledge. So does a plumber. A software engineer. A graphic designer. A salesperson. A financial advisor. A video editor. A social media manager. Notice, none of these require a college degree. Some require a license. Some don't. But all of them require expertise in a specific domain that people value. Let me give you an ordinary example. My neighbor, David, owns a small HVAC repair business. He didn't go to college. He didn't have a trust fund. He started as an apprentice at 19, learning how to fix air conditioners. That's specialized knowledge. It's not glamorous. But people will pay $200 for a service call because when their AC breaks in July, they need it fixed now. David now employs 6 people. He makes about $150,000 a year. He's not a billionaire. But he built a life, a house, a family, a retirement account, on specialized knowledge. Here's the good news. We live in the greatest time in human history to acquire specialized knowledge for free or very cheap. YouTube tutorials on almost any skill. Free courses from MIT, Harvard, Stanford. Blogs, podcasts, newsletters from experts. Online communities on Reddit, Discord, Slack. Every skill you need is available for free. The only cost is your attention. But here's the problem. Most people consume knowledge passively. They watch. They read. They nod along. And then they do nothing. Specialized knowledge requires application. You don't know how to code until you've written code that works. You don't know how to sell until you've closed a deal. You don't know how to design until someone pays for your design. What skill should you learn? Ask yourself 3 questions. What problem do I enjoy solving? What problem are people already paying to solve? Where do those 2 circles overlap? Don't learn a skill just because it's trendy. Learn a skill because you're willing to get really good at it, and because someone will pay you for that expertise. Now, I need to push back on Hill a little. He made it sound like you should just learn one skill and that's it. But in the modern economy, the most valuable people often have multiple specialized skills that combine in unique ways. A software engineer who also understands marketing is more valuable than a pure engineer. A writer who also understands SEO is more valuable than a pure writer. A plumber who also understands business is more valuable than a pure plumber. Don't be a one-trick pony. Be a pony with a few good tricks. One more warning. Most people consume too much general information. They watch business news every day. They read 5 industry blogs. They listen to 10 podcasts. And they end up confused. Overwhelmed. Paralyzed. Hill warned about this. He said knowledge becomes useless when it's not organized for a specific purpose. So here's my advice. Pick one skill that will move you toward your desire. Just one. Spend 90 days becoming excellent at that skill. Then pick the next one. Don't try to learn everything. Learn what matters. But knowledge alone, even specialized knowledge, is not enough. Because knowledge is about what is. Success requires what could be. And that requires imagination. Every single thing in your life that wasn't created by nature, your phone, your chair, your clothes, this video, started as an idea in someone's imagination. Everything is created twice, first in the mind, then in reality. That's the 5th principle. Imagination is the workshop of the mind. It's where all plans are shaped. Hill divided imagination into 2 types. First, synthetic imagination. This is the ability to rearrange existing ideas into new combinations. Most innovation is synthetic. The iPhone wasn't the first phone, the first music player, or the first internet device. It was the first combination of those things. Steve Jobs said it well, creativity is just connecting things. Synthetic imagination is about asking, what if I combine X and Y? Uber equals taxis plus mobile apps. Airbnb equals hotels plus social trust. Netflix equals mail-order DVDs plus streaming. None of these were new ideas. They were recombined ideas. Then there's creative imagination. This is rarer. This is when a genuinely new idea appears, often seemingly out of nowhere. Hill believed creative imagination taps into infinite intelligence. I'm not going to get mystical. Modern neuroscience says creative insights happen when your brain has been saturated with a problem and then releases it, allowing unconscious connections to form. The best ideas come when you stop trying to have them. Ever had a great idea in the shower? While driving? Right before falling asleep? That's creative imagination. Your conscious mind stops wrestling. Your subconscious keeps working. Then, pop, the solution appears. Let me give you an ordinary example. My friend Rachel is a freelance copywriter. A few years ago, she noticed that many small business owners had great products but terrible websites. She didn't invent web design. She didn't invent copywriting. But she combined them. She started offering website word audits, reviewing existing sites and rewriting the copy to convert better. Then she added basic design recommendations. Then she partnered with a designer. That's synthetic imagination. She didn't invent anything new. She recombined existing skills into a new offering. She now makes $120,000 a year. Same skills as before. Just arranged differently. Imagination is like a muscle. You can train it. Exercise 1, the what-if game. Take a problem you're facing. Ask, what if the opposite were true? Or, what if I had no budget? Or, what if I had to solve this in one day? Constraints force creativity. Exercise 2, borrow from other industries. Every industry thinks its problems are unique. They're not. Look at how restaurants solved customer retention. How video games solved engagement. How hospitals solve check-in processes. Steal like an artist. Exercise 3, scheduled idle time. Your brain needs unfocused time to make creative connections. That's why showers, walks, and driving produce ideas. Schedule 30 minutes a day with no input, no phone, no podcast, no conversation. Let your mind wander. Here's a mini case study. A college student named Maya was studying biology. She wanted to be a doctor. But she realized she hated memorizing anatomy and loved explaining complex topics. She used synthetic imagination. Biology knowledge plus YouTube explainer skills equals a channel that simplifies science for non-scientists. 2 years later, 300,000 subscribers. She's not a doctor. She's a creator. And she used the same knowledge, just recombined with a different skill. That's imagination in action. Here's what Hill got right that modern business books keep rediscovering. Innovation doesn't require genius. It requires curiosity and connection. The most successful entrepreneurs aren't necessarily the most original thinkers. They're the ones who see patterns others miss. They connect dots that seem unrelated. So here's my question for you. What 2 skills or ideas could you combine that no one else is combining? What problem have you noticed that everyone else ignores? That's your imagination calling. But imagination without a plan is just daydreaming. So how do you turn imagination into action? That's the 6th principle, organized planning. Let me tell you about a startup founder I know. He had a brilliant idea. A new app that would revolutionize how freelancers manage invoices. He had the desire. He had the faith. He had the imagination. He spent 6 months building the app. It was beautiful. Clean design. Great features. He launched it. And, crickets.